Hello and welcome to another jungle video, and in this one we're going to be looking at one of the junglers storming the high elo brackets and rising quickly on everyone's tier list, and that is Big Daddy Urgot. Because of the changes he received last patch to put some power back in, as you can see on screen now, most notably that his passive on his legs no longer does reduced damage to the same target, giving his clear a much needed boost, which is where he struggled. And you combine that with the changes to his W, making that a toggle at max ranks, and suddenly you've got a very strong duelist with a compelling package. And we will go down over runes, items, playstyles, ganks, all that kind of stuff, as we usually do in this Conquer series, where we look at the strongest junglers and how you can use them to climb in your own games. But before we jump into that, once again, this video is brought to you by OP.GGs, where we have our club Virkayu's Yggdrasil, and this week we are actually going head to head in a game of clubs, where clubs will battle against each other to see who can come out on top, with the season champions getting bonus QB points based upon their trophies. So if you want to support the channel and gain free skins at the same time while playing League, help us win our head-to-head matchup and spread the name of the Yggdrasil for Odin. And now let's talk about why 6 legs are better than 2. And to begin, let's talk about his runes and items. Naturally, you want to go Conqueror if you're looking for some true damage, some heals, some good duelist capabilities. And what's interesting about Urgot's runes is that most people are going the same rune page and specifically getting boots and approach velocity on the secondary tree. Why is that? Well, because in the jungle you don't really want to be painfully slow, and Urgot has a base movement speed of 330, which is very low for a jungler who needs to move around the map with relative pace. And considering the fact that approach velocity applies that movement speed boost to any slows or movement impairment to an enemy, and your kit has Q, E, and R, which do apply slows or a knockup in the case of E, it will help you navigate fights much more easily, as well as if your laners are setting up ganks correctly and you have CC in those lanes, it can give you a little speed boost to get into the action. Additionally, because your W gives you that slow resist to counter the fact your movement speed is slowed, increasing your tenacity as the game goes on through your runes is also an attractive option. And finally, your boots give you that plus 10 movement speed, and Urgot will take as much movement speed as he can get. And on that note, when you are running jungle items for this champion, obviously warrior is standard, pick red or blue smite based upon you want. The blue smite is quite useful on Urgot given the movement speed issues, as well as the fact that with approach velocity you can then move closer to the target, so it synergizes quite well. And then of course Black Cleaver. And now this is where things get quite interesting and a little bit diverse. Now most of the time, people will go Righteous Glory because, as we said, slow champion, kind of bulky, walking around, the W slows you. So you want to have as many movement speed boosts as you can get in the game, as well as giving you some HP, which helps boost your shield on that E. And it's also why some people occasionally will go Frozen Mallet as well. However, that isn't as common probably when you are far ahead. And people are going Guardian Angel or Stoneplate. The order doesn't always go in the same particular way. However, the whole goal with that is survivability in team fights, to aid your disruption, to aid in how your ultimate can trigger that fear beyond death where everyone is fleeing for their lives. Other than that, you finish it off with some tanky items as necessary, Ninja Tabby, Merc Treads as necessary, and if you're feeling particularly spicy and aggressive, maybe the Mallet and the Death Stones is something you want to go for, but remember, you will not survive as long. To that end, having a Lulu or Zilean on your team, as I'm sure you've been noticing in these clips, is particularly useful as Urgot to give you speed ups, to give you that Lulu ultimate, to bring you back to life as Zilean. You want your leg passive to be used as much as possible. That's why you see everyone walking around in circles as they attack people with their W. And finally, one small note that people are not focusing on, his ultimate range was drastically increased, and you can see, there you go. Long range, Urgot ultimates are now a thing, and from the jungle, who's permanently roaming, you know how many times people get away with low HP? And I like to play Ornn jungle for that same reason. I can use my ult very far away and I can pick up kills. Well, this is even better because it actually, guarantees a kill instead of being Ornn, which just does nothing. In terms of early clears, most are taking Machete. You can go Talisman technically because of your AoE. The clears are pretty much as standard. If you're looking for clear ideas, you can see my most recent Jungle Roots video. It explains everything there. There's no unique pathing. You can go from red to opposite side scuttle, clear that whole blue side, and then loop back for full clear if you want. Or start on that blue side and then do the same thing. Full clears are very easy to do. And then of course, ganking, while not the most intense form of Jarvan or Rek'Sai kind of ganks, you still have excellent counter ganks. You can use your abilities to chase down people with approach velocity. And the surprising bursts and slows that come with your kit now are kind of surprising to people, and they're really underestimating the amount of damage and DPS you can put out during a gank. In addition to the fact that you do offer CC. Dragon control, Herald control is pretty good, although I don't think many of the meta junglers have much of an issue taking those by themselves. That of course is an important metric to measure. When you are picking a jungler to carry, you want to be able to solo objectives, and as I mentioned with your ultimate, having the presence in team fights is very important. So let's look at an example of an early game, mid game that's very strong by a challenger jungler. Of course, all clips from challenger high elo players are put in the description below, so you can check out their profiles if you wish. So in this case, our Urgot player starts in the red buff before going to the opposite side, Scuttle Crab. This is a great clear for Warwick as well, where you don't really want to do AoE camps early, and you want to get at least level 3 before you can do that. In addition, the Rek'Sai is starting on the red, go to Raptors, and then to the top side, so you know in this case there's no vertical jungling, and you avoid each other, selecting the crab, one of the original crab routes when they made those changes last year. Now, as you can see from the way he clears, you can link together the blue and the Gromp a little bit to maximize the speed that you're actually going to clear. You take the W first, E second for the shield, and then knock aside that applies to the monsters, and then finally your Q third. Bear in mind you're maxing W and then Q and then E. I put those on the screen at the beginning of the video, but just keep that in mind because the W will become a toggle at max ranks and cost 0 mana, so you want to get that as soon as possible. You can also note how well he does the Raptor camp, and with the shield and his legs blasting everyone into oblivion, it makes a clear quite great. I mean, when a Warwick in this case, it would take much longer as a single target champion, and so once again, a powerful jungler rises because of their ability to clear quickly, duel well, and as we see here, rotate to the top for a nice counter gank where he gets 2 kills. You can argue maybe the Akali and Rek'Sai should not have been tower diving, but it's challenger in Korea, so I'll let them do whatever they want to do. But the Urgot now has picked up 2 kills, takes his Krugs afterwards, and he's already level 5. A full clear plus 2 kills. This is very powerful. So after going back to buy, a lot of players will base their full clear and ganking pressure around that second crab spawn, so when it does come up, they can easily alter their direction in that way. Now, Rek'Sai has actually gotten off a nice gank on the top lane again, because no summoners on the Aurelia, you've got the Akali, you might as well try and get her fed. However, because you have the Zilean, remember I said Zilean Lulu, really nice champions that synergize well with Urgot, who has that lane priority, and in addition to the fact that, you know, he's level 5, Rek'Sai is level 4, you don't want to 1v1 him anyway. Urgot can barbarically kill the crab and get the first RNG spawn. Nice XP and gold boost to further his lead as well. So let's look at a few instances of where the power of this champion in the jungle shines quite well. Now, this is actually accidental pathing by the Rek'Sai, looking to counter jungle and ends up wanting to go back to base. However, Urgot walks right in front of her while he's heading towards the mid lane for his level 6 gank, which gives Rek'Sai the opportunity to do a counter gank. However, look at the sequence as I speak. The Zilean and the Urgot, the ultimates, the regeneration, the damage, how they're able to survive and fight even though the Rek'Sai technically caught them out and Orianna landed a very nice ultimate of her own. Yes, the Urgot falls in the end, but let's jump forward a little bit to show how Urgot can actually be quite devastating when rotating to situations that look a little bit bad. Maybe someone's gonna get away to live, maybe your team might lose the fight, but by rotating with your ultimate, I didn't even expect it while recording, he just shoots it half a screen away, ends up yanking a kill from a low health target. You saw some clips earlier of a similar occurrence. And you couple that with TPs from your team, and that's exactly the kind of environment Urgot thrives in, the chaos of not having everyone super grouped and focusing on him, but a bit split off, with there's room for him to rotate using all of his passive as well as dishing out his damage, which surprises people, especially when you land that Q or that R at the beginning of a fight. Eventually the person's health whittles down and then they just get built back in. That's why it's always good not necessarily to use the ultimate last, you can use it at the beginning, as I'm sure you're seeing some of these players are doing. And because of that, as they get burst down, automatically the ultimate will then pull them back in when they go below that 25% max HP. And then you can see here the further disruption he brings to the bottom lane, even through a regular lane gank, using your E to either flip in a fight, get your full rotation off, and then again to chase down targets. You are literally the quintessential disruptor, and while you don't have a typical jungler package, being present in lanes in any form of capacity in skirmishes is what you're looking to do. Naturally, he is a top laner, so you can take those towers pretty quickly by yourself, which is another important aspect. And even though the Rek'Sai is securing that Herald over there, this is still a nice gather for this team, and because of their presence, his bot lane is also ahead now. And now you'll see some clips of when he hits that level 11, you've got 2 points in the R, you've got max W, and in a 1v1, even with an Akali, you can chase her down, pick up a kill there. And then when we talk about survivability and why he works so well with a Zilean or a Lulu, you see in this situation he gets caught out, the Zilean does drop some bombs, but the ability in that situation to 2v1 because of the close range of everyone to dish out consistent damage with the W as well as his passive, he gets the R off, which then fears the other member, and then because of Triumph and then his E-Shield, he's basically guaranteed to get out of that situation alive. Don't forget to add in the true damage and healing of Conqueror also. Now let's quickly shift to another game where we're going to look at the late game specifically. While you won't always have LCS level team fights and abilities to get off 5-man Fear Beyond Deaths, you can still have a lot of impact using your R as your team piles onto another target, which will 100% guarantee the execute once he gets below that 25% threshold. Also remember, now as you see, positioning is very important with Urgot. You've got the W on toggle, and you want to make sure that your legs are going off because they do percentage max HP damage, and that kind of damage on tanks, on anyone really, can be quite devastating in the later stages of a game. And as you see even here, they're not able to pick up all the kills on the outset, but the positioning of back and forth, keeping that W up, means that you do chunk, you get Rek'Sai's GA, your Lissandro's able to TP in or flank in and get the remaining kills. You can grab that tower, using your disruption to engage with either Righteous Glory, you know, that's why that item's there for movement speed as well, to engage and slow. You can also just disrupt in the back end. You can dive in with Fear Beyond Death and Gargoyle Stoneplate. You have a lot of team fighting options within your build and within the rune set. So make sure in those early phases you're getting off a good clear, know your path, make it quick, because you can have very strong counter ganking presence. Or if you do not, you can do a full clear very quickly, go back, get the first RNG scuttle, look for those ganks, look for low HP targets to swing your ult out on to secure kills. Make sure in team fights you are doing your job as per your build, as per what Urgot can do. Don't forget that the ult isn't just to pull people in and get cool kills. You can also use it to fear as many people as possible. And don't underestimate the damage you can output with your W and with that Q. Just understand the reasons why he's strong and play to those strengths, and you should be able to pick up a few wins before he most likely will be touched in the next patch if he continues to grow in that win rate department. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, share, and comment if you enjoyed and learned something. Consider subscribing for more League of Legends and jungle videos coming very soon. And as always, I will see you all in the next tutorial.